So we're here now with Lorne Plant, who is a fellow employee of mine at Yellow Flag Productions. And Lorne is our vice president, and he wears a lot of other hats around here. But we're here today to talk about an event we had here at Lawrence Tech on Saturday that has to do with FIRST Robotics, the robotics competition. The robotics competition part of FIRST is for high school students, but FIRST overall has programs going all the way down to pre-kindergarten. Yeah. But let's talk about the event here Saturday. So, Lorne, tell us a little bit about what happened here on Saturday.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do at Lawrence Tech is connect ourselves to the community in as vibrant a way possible, ways that really feel at the grassroots level that students are getting a chance to experience Lawrence Tech. And the best way to do that, of course, is to have them on campus. So we have been, being our state champs arm of Yellow Flag, have been covering robotics since 2015. We've actually won an Emmy Award in some of the work that we've done. And we've worked very closely with the governing body called FIRST in Michigan for many years. And we were actually the only group to do a TV show in the country for many years. So outside of that, so anyway, we've been pretty ingrained in that community. Well, being now the marketing arm of Lawrence Tech, we needed to find ways that we could connect the university more to these students, because not just on the engineering side, but in computer science, in architecture and design, a lot of these students are going to, at the next level, at the college level, will be searching for degrees in these fields. Well, why not come to Lawrence Tech? So we said, let's sponsor a number of teams, and we started last year, and give them money for their expenses that they have throughout the season, which is extensive because they do a lot of traveling. These are 3-day events in many cases. They've got to build these robots, and a lot of it includes hotels, on and on and on. So we gave each team $2,000. We increased our sponsorship from 8 teams to 10 teams. So we invited them all down. And what Saturday was basically the kickoff to the FIRST Robotics season. So every year, right around this time, the national body of FIRST, which is based back east, Dean Kamen's organization, he then designs a game, reveals the game. They're very secretive as to what the game's going to be. Everyone thought it was going to be a water game this year, but Crescendo turned out to be more about audio and levels and music notes and all of that. They have this big game reveal. It's kind of a party. The teams figure out what they're going to figure out what the game is, and then what kind of robot they need to build. We invited these teams to come have a great opportunity to experience some of what Lawrence Tech has to offer in terms of seeing the engineering labs and some of that as well as then having a big party with the game reveal and passing out the robotics kits and all that, again, in an effort to connect them more with the university.
And this year's game is called Crescendo. It does have a musical theme.
Yes.
The robots are designed to carry and transport and shoot, actually.
Yes.
These little plastic hoops that are called notes.
Yes.
And they put them in receptacles that are called what? Amplifiers and receivers.
Yes.
And,
yeah.
Right. It's an interesting game. And for those who have never been to a FIRST Robotics competition, it's really something to see, because the game field's about the size of a basketball court, a small basketball court, and it's surrounded by plexiglass, and you've got all these robots running around in it. And the people who put on the FIRST Robotics competitions always have great lighting and sound systems, and people are cheering and going nuts, and it's very much a sports-like atmosphere, right?
I compare it to a basketball court inside of a WWE steel cage match. That's kind of, I think, if you want to think of the frenetic energy that is going on at each one of these. Yes, they have them usually inside a high school auditorium, sometimes bigger. A lot of universities will host some of these district events, and there's one every week during the weekend of March. Hundreds and hundreds, thousands of people will attend this thing. There is this sense of pride and spirit for each one of these groups' teams that is really unrivaled in high school sports. And they consider this a sport. They call this is the one pro sport that is available to everyone. Yeah. So that's kind of how they market it. But there's dancing that goes on at these events. It's amazing the amount of volunteers they get that participate in this. It's all a really well-oiled machine, and the kids get a lot out of it. It's like playing a video game and controlling these robots to do these specific functions, and it's amazing some of the engineering feats they have in some of their creations.
Let me leap in too.
Yeah,
also,
jump in.
this is like the starting point for a national competition, right?
Yeah, so they have these district events. It leads to a state championship that will take place in early April at Saginaw Valley State. And then several of the teams will go on to the World's Championships, which take place in Houston.
And the way they do these competitions is interesting to me too, the first time I watched them, because it's not just one team competing against one other team. They create 3-team alliances randomly by random drawing. So you're with 2 other teams and you try in the course of just a few minutes to try to work out which team's robots are the best at various aspects and various tasks that have to be performed during the game. So you wind up with these teams that don't have very expensive or sophisticated robots that play crucial roles in winning alliances and could go all the way to the World Championships. That to me is one of the more fun parts of this.
Well, it is. And as you get through the tournament schedule, let's say competition will start on a Thursday in a district match, and then by Saturday at about 1 o'clock, that's when the teams that actually qualify for the final rounds, the teams will go and they'll do a draft. So they'll line them up and they'll pick their alliance partners. And what's funny is because I'm such a sports oriented guy, I would say like, oh, that means the rivalries get thick between these teams. And nope, they all love each other. They all just really get along and just want everyone to do well. And a lot of times, sometimes in their alliance pick, it may be a team that really maybe isn't at quite their level, but they'll bring them along just because they think maybe they can obviously be good at one particular aspect of the competition, but also so that it can just, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah. And one of the neat things about this year's game, I noticed too in the reveal on Saturday, was that you could actually earn bonus points by giving points to the other team. Something called the sort of goofy invented word cooperation, I guess is what it is, right?
Yeah,
so, I mean,
I've never seen that before.
No,
so
that's a neologism or whatever they call it. Yeah, that's a new word.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Watch out for FIRST Robotics as we go through the year. If people want more information on Michigan FIRST Robotics, where should they go?
So FIRST in Michigan has a website. I can't think of the exact name, but if you Google FIRST in Michigan, you can see the schedule of events. You'll see, and I believe between now and probably mid-February, all the teams will be lined up per district. So you'll be able to see who's competing where. I think you legally, but you only have to compete in one, but most compete in 2. It just depends sometimes on their funding, if they can afford to go, somewhere and spend that amount of time away from school and all of that.
Yeah, and how far away the competition is for them. If it's someplace where they can get to that day, then they might be inclined to be in more than one. And I know on the LTU website at ltu.edu/news, we have a very nice article by a real nice guy who wrote it right here about Saturday's event, along with some photography of the event. It was a lot of fun. And, I'm sure this year's FIRST Robotics competition is going to be a lot of fun, too.
And I will encourage anyone who is just kind of interested in kind of seeing what it's all about and presented in a really fun way. We have our robotics side of the business is State Champs RoboZone. So State Champs RoboZone, you can find it on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and we post lots of little clips of teams. We did interviews with all the teams, so you'll be able to see little short videos learning about kind of what their robot is, how excited they are for the year, and then we'll cover them throughout the entire season, and might even send some photographers to World Championships, believe it or not. And this was the case as of a few years ago. Michigan has more world champions than any other state.
Let me also ask you, I know part of what you're doing here is to expose these kids to Lawrence Tech. What is the end result? I mean, how many of these folks actually, when they become 18, graduate, all that, then go to LTU? Have you guys ever tracked that?
Right. So last year was the first time that we have done this, where they have really actually got involved with sponsoring teams. And there were a handful that came from last year's group. So 8 teams sponsored. So again, if that number is 1, I say it's worth it. Because you've now opened the eyes to some student who maybe would not have discovered Lawrence Tech otherwise. I feel now that the inroads that we're making, and the faculty has assured me that they're going to go out to some of these events and spend time with these kids and talk to them, especially the robotics engineers we have here on campus, spending time with them and not only helping them in making sure the robot works the way it should, but again, developing those relationships so that maybe they will consider Lawrence Tech. And that's the main thing. We want to be on the radar more than anything. And that's what this marketing is all about.
And one thing we do have to emphasize here too is that Lawrence Tech is one of only 3 universities in Michigan to offer a bachelor's degree in robotics engineering. So there aren't that many programs in the state. So.
There's some master's programs, but yeah, Lawrence Tech is one of 3 for a bachelor's.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Matt, take us out.
All right. So thanks very much to Lorne Plant from Yellow Flag and State Champs. RoboZone is the place to go for more information on robotics and FIRST Robotics in particular.